Welcome to our first episode of Redline Rides. To kick things off, I brought up my grandpa and his very own 77 Cougar. Before we dig into the car, we're going to get to know him a little bit and how it came to be. So, what made you get this car?
Me and the wife, my two daughters walked into the showroom. I walked over to an XR7. Her and the two girls walked over to this one. She said, no, we need a four-door car. We've got kids. We can see who won. No regrets. It's been a good car.
I think any one of us would have gone over to the XR7 first before the four-door version. But
It was a red one, red interior, white top. That's what drew me to it.
now, I think probably most, if all of anybody that's watching hasn't seen a four-door Cougar. How many of these were made? How many's left?
There was like 15,246 of this base model made. And as far as I can find out, there's only two left.
Like 15,246? That's a pretty precise guess.
That's what the information I got.
Now, what's under the hood that moves this Titanic of a car?
Well, it doesn't move that good. It's a 302, 137 horsepower, 245 foot-pounds of torque, 8.41 compression. Once you get it going, it'll go, but I'll never spin the tires.
Now, this car we measured once back when I had my first car, and if you remembered right, we measured it. It was 18 feet long.
Yep, 18 feet.
Now, can you tell them what it's like to drive something that's 18 feet long?
You be careful. Especially with the nose. I'd say from the driver's seat to the edge of the bumper, it's about 8 feet. My wife only drove it once. My kids wouldn't drive it. My grandson drove it.
And it is one of the smoothest. They don't make them ride like that anymore. It's like riding on a cloud. Every bump, everything is just like a wave.
It's like a boat on the ocean. It just floats.
All right, now you may not realize this, but growing up, you maybe not intentionally, but you planted the seed for my enthusiasm in cars. And I remember having a 5-gallon bucket of Hot Wheels, which my son Anthony and Robbie now play with. And I remember picking them up and saying, "Papa, what car is this? Papa, what car is this?" And until you drove you nuts. What started your passion for cars?
Well, my father was into cars. He had a 61 Ford Starliner, and it was black, red, and white interior. He bought it brand new off the showroom floor. He wound up putting lake pipes on it, Continental kit, skirts, and mag wheel hubcaps.
Now, I this is a little off topic, but since you're talking about your father and your love for cars, can you talk about just about the one time that they went away on vacation with the Mustang?
It's safe to do it now. They were gone away, I believe, to my sister's, and I had my car in the garage, cleaning it up, and I decided it was a bright idea to burn rubber in the garage. And I tried scrubbing that off, but it didn't work too good. Nobody ever said anything, but that tire mark was there for a long time.
And that's the same original rear bumper, right? And it was actually pulled back out, and
Yeah,
you
it
can't
was.
even tell.
Yeah. I was coming down Wyoming Avenue in Scranton, and a lady didn't know the meaning of a blinking red light, so she just went through, and she hit me in the right rear quarter panel. And all I'm thinking is, you better have good insurance. And she did. I asked my father-in-law if he wanted to fix it because he had a body shop, and he said no, he didn't want to do it anymore, but he told me who to go to. I took it to him. He did a beautiful job. He straightened out the bumper and everything. And when the car was ready, my wife called me at work and says, "You're not going to believe what happened. Abby just called and said your car was sideswiped on the street by a bus." My heart sank. She was a prankster. For a few minutes, I just couldn't say anything. I couldn't believe it. Then she told me she was kidding. Uh, yeah.
Now, as opposed to the modern cars today and the daily driver and everything, as far as when you're driving this, is it just still that as comfortable as I'm thinking it is, or
No, the seats were never comfortable. On a long trip, I always have to stop because my legs go numb. Maybe if it had bucket seats, it'd be better. I don't know. I could drive my Focus the same distance and it doesn't bother me.
now the let's talk about the wheels for a second, because I remember that was always a thing, was trying to find the baskets for the wheels or get the baskets fixed and everything. Now those aren't the originals, right?
No, I have the original wheels home in boxes, and I bought these at A&A, and I think they were like $250 for four of them. 1974 prices.
Now, I don't think I've even seen the original ones. What were they like? Were they steel or?
Just black steel wheels with hubcaps, and I've got the hubcaps too.
Now there was a time when this was down for a little bit, and I had to I had to do the rear brake cylinder and the master cylinder on it, and the master cylinder was a lifetime warranty. And you said, I think I have the receipt, which I found in the glove box and was barely legible. And I took it up to the auto parts store and they honored it. But that was from when, like 1990 something, or
Something like that. It was probably about 15 years maybe.
maybe.
But I kept the receipt. I still have all the receipts from every time the car was back to the dealer for warranty work or whatever. The one basket on the car, I had to use the car in the wintertime because the other car I had a blown head gasket, and I had to use this. And I actually lost one of the baskets. The next day I found it, but it was pretty well mangled because I had run over it too. I asked a friend of mine who's a good fabricator, and he made one. And you cannot tell which ones are the original and which one is the remake.
So a lot of people today might not know, because we got all-wheel drive cars or front-wheel drive cars and SUVs and et cetera, et cetera. Driving this as a family car in the winter, I mean, being only rear-wheel drive and an open differential, how was that in the snow?
It was fair. It it was fair. I mean, it's a heavy car, and it never had snow tires on it, just all season. But it was fair.
Now they just don't make them like this anymore. Cars nowadays, in my opinion, are mostly bubbles, and it's for aerodynamics and so on and so forth. But just the shapes of this, the pointy headlights was always one of my favorite things, and just there's an actual shape to the car, not like today's cars.
Everything today, they all look alike. I mean, back in 30 years ago, they had style. I mean, you could tell what a car was.
I am right there with you, and I mean, there's been even people at work who have almost accidentally gotten in other colleagues' cars because they didn't even realize that they were,
Yeah,
But yeah, this is, and we like to joke on you a lot when we go for coffee or whatever, and about the length of the car or the speed of it, but overall, it's just totally unique, and there's what, one of two left on the road today.
as far as I know, yes.
Yeah, this might just be something that people watching this have never even seen before. It might not be, it might not be a powerhouse or anything like that, but it's definitely very unique in its own way.
I would like to maybe get a little more horsepower out of it, but where am I going to go? You can only go so fast.
Okay, now you've not always been a Ford person in particular, but you are now, and you have been for a while. What started that?
My first car was a 62 Ford Sunliner convertible. That one should have turned me away from Fords forever because I had nothing but problems with it. The transmission slipped, the carburetor leaked, it had blow by real bad. If you were at a light, there was smoke coming off underneath it. But then I bought my Mustang, a '67, and I guess ever since then, that's really, I've had others. I had a '69 Plymouth, a '72 Charger. I always keep going back to Fords. I just, I get busted about it. But I'll also bust the GM guys too.
One of the things I forgot to mention that people might not know about older cars or have seen it or and what's your experience on it now. This doesn't have a passenger side mirror. So how is it from going from driving like the your daily driver, it's a more modern car, and then you get in this and you go to look at that passenger side mirror to back up or whatever, and it's not there.
I wish I had one. I mean, it. I'm extra careful because without that, I've turned on a mirror in the other car, and even last night there was a close call on a guy come up on my right side when I had the other car, and if I had this one, I wouldn't have seen him coming.
Now was that an option on this
That
car?
was an option. This doesn't have power windows. It doesn't have power seats. It doesn't have tilt. It doesn't have air conditioning either.
Now was all that stuff options on these?
It was optional, but this one was just a base model. Like the bumper guards, that's one of the options, and I'm glad it has it because I think they look better.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's funny how options have changed on cars, such as bumper guards and things like that, as opposed to today, where now you got Bluetooth radios and stuff. How about a little bit about the inside? You got an 8-track player in there.
I got an 8-track player. It came with an AM radio, and I wanted an AM FM with an 8-track. And I had a Ford dealer in Taylor, Pennsylvania install it for me. And that was state of the art back then.
How about anything else about the interior uh, gauges and things like that? And
The sport instrument cluster has a tachometer and fuel oil pressure and water temp gauges. I wish it had that, but that wasn't even an option on the base model.
wow. So yeah, I think that just about wraps it up for our first episode. If you could, make sure you like and subscribe and comment and stay in tune for more.